Welcome to March to the Pod, presented by Eternal Roofing. We are your consistent source for Sam Houston athletics. Today, we're going to look back at a frustrating loss to Jacksonville State, preview and give our picks for, the Cats game against Liberty on tomorrow night, on Thursday night, if you're listening to this on Wednesday. And we're going to check in on the men's basketball program as they begin practice, and they got a recruit that we are going to be very excited about. I'm your host, Corey Hogue, the non-FBS insider at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Find me on your favorite social media channels at Corey Hogue Sports. It's one word, CORYHOGUE Sports. I'm joined by the creator and manager of Sports of SHSU, also one word on Twitter and Instagram, Sports of SHSU, the chief operating officer of the Cat Fund and a proud Bearcat alum, Ben Sorrells. Ben, I hear you were telling me coming in that it was raining awful heavy there. Man, I hope if someone has a roof leak that they know who to call.
Yeah, and that would be Eternal Roofing. Yeah, a lot of rain going on right now in the Houston area. I think even some minor flooding in the Houston area, and it's supposed to continue the next couple days. So yeah, definitely a good time to pitch Eternal Roofing. If you have any roofing needs, now's the perfect time to call them with these storms rolling in.
It really is. And seriously, we're going to give you just what you need to do, right? Because you get a leak in your roof, you need somebody. Eternal Roofing is the people to call because they're going to give you a free and detailed roof inspection. They're going to let you know exactly what you need. They're not going to give you any pressure sales pitch. It's going to be fast. It's going to be professional. And they're going to give you exceptional workmanship, and they're going to give you warranties as well. They only use the best quality stuff. I think that's what's most important, especially when you talk about needing a roof repair. You want those certainty shingles. You want all of that stuff that's known to work. And Eternal Roofing are the people to call. Now, we know they don't do orthopedic surgery, but, I think that maybe this rain, this is the people, Ben.
Yeah, now's the time, that's for sure. And it's all about quality. You don't want to do a roof and then have to fix it again a year later. You want to make sure you do it the right way. So yeah, make sure you call Eternal Roofing, and now's the right time with these storms rolling in. And make sure to give them a call.
Get a hold of the professionals. You can call them if you're in the Hill Country. Dial 830-251-5673. Montgomery County area, 936-215-8539. You can actually call them even if you don't live in the Hill Country or the Montgomery area. Those numbers work across the state of Texas, believe it or not. And also they have an email address that works as well. Taylor, Taylor, at eternalroofingtx.com. Give them a call today. Ben, I do need an injury update here on the elbow before we get into talking about our Cats a little bit.
Yeah, I went to the certified orthopedics yesterday, actually, and things are looking good. Just looks like it's going to be some physical therapy for a couple of weeks, and we should be good to go. But yeah, I've been out of the sling for about a week now, which is good. Just getting back that range of motion and strength is the biggest thing at this point. So definitely trending in the right direction.
Have you learned anything from this experience?
Yeah, don't break your elbow in a men's basketball league. It's not worth it. or a men's softball league or co-ed softball league or dodgeball league. Yeah, it's not worth it.
Are you going to be back on the field soon?
Man, our team actually, the most recent season started this last Thursday night when the game was going on. My boys got a big win in the North Houston Rec League. So, yeah, I'm not a part of this season, but I'll be back next season.
See, what did he learn? Nothing. You can't keep him away. You're not. You can't get rid of that competitive drive in Ben Sorrells.
Right. Yeah, man. I play to win, even if it is a men's basketball league. So I want to win.
Well, and I feel like the Cats want to win too, but we're going to get into that here as to what has been holding them back against Jacksonville State. Honestly, Ben, I think as I look back on that, this was the first game this year that I expected more. And this was the first time this year they truly had an opportunity to win this game. And they only have themselves to blame if we really look at it.
Right. Yeah. Everything was right there in front of you. I mean, you had a 14-point lead at the half. You had a chance to go up a couple scores in the second half, and you shot yourself in the foot with some penalties. Had 1 minute left to defend. And Jacksonville State had to go the whole length of the field. Couldn't do it. So you had your opportunities, but couldn't get it done ultimately. And that's a team that's in the exact same spot you are with the same transition. And so, yeah, it was definitely disappointing. To lose it in that manner, in that fashion, especially considering how many chances you had to kind of put it away.
I agree. And now we're going to dive into it. But before we do, we want to let you know we are a podcast on the Republic of Football Network and an extension of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the various social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads at March to the Pod. March, the number 2, the pod. It's all one word. And to those of you who are watching on the Dave Campbell's YouTube page, a fine hello to you and thank you so much for viewing. Ben, I think what disappointed me the most about that loss last week was the lack of discipline that hurt the team from a position group that next to the quarterback, I expect them to be the most disciplined players on the field.
And it's been a reoccurring theme now the past 2 weeks. It happened at U of H, and Keeler mentioned it. He said multiple times he brought it up at halftime at U of H, and he did say at U of H that their guys were kind of in the right to retaliate, but you still can't do it. Even if you are getting speared to the ground, you can't retaliate. It's always going to be the second guy that they're going to catch, and so he let them know during the U of H game and after the U of H game. And similar thing happened this last week with those undisciplined penalties. It was 2 unsportsmanlike penalties on the same play when we were almost in the red zone. And that's just a killer, especially when it's already been hit on, and it's just a lack of discipline from the guys up front, unfortunately. And then just some false start penalties, some other penalties on offense, and also the low snaps too didn't help. So yeah, the offensive line, while they played probably their best game of the year, ultimately their undisciplinedness and their penalties and those kind of minor mistakes is a big reason why we couldn't come out with the win, I think.
I agree. And it was I think you want to look at the turning point of that game. It really lies there. I believe it was third quarter. Cats were driving. They had got that momentum going on offense. And by the way, we saw what this offense can do when they're not facing Power 5 level defenses. It was definitely a much better showing. It wasn't great. It wasn't perfect. It was better. The offense got that momentum rolling, and then what was a tremendous play turned into a comedy of errors that was not very funny if you're a Cats fan, because there was a fumble of the ball, lineman secured it, picked it up right. I mean, that's what you want, right? Like, this is stuff movies are made from. The lineman pushes it forward, you get a first down, momentum's building, crowds into it, and then one of our offensive linemen decides to throw somebody down and another one decides to come in and headbutt. And now you're 1st and 10, 30 yards further back. You killed the momentum. You killed the energy that the crowd was giving you in the stadium. And Ben, at that point, that game turned on its head, all because of a lack of discipline.
It did, and it really did. And yeah, you're driving. I think it was a 20-yard pass to, I think it was Elijah Stone, or maybe it was Jack Sherrard, one of the tight ends, and got it down to almost the red zone. And you got a chance to go up multiple scores there late in the game and maybe even put the game away. But now you're pushed back 30 yards. And then a couple plays later, I think you get another first down and there's a holding penalty.
Yeah.
So that's 40 yards of penalties, and that drive ended right around midfield. And so you get the ball to 10, 15-yard line. I mean, that's 3 points and that's the game, even if you just get 3 right there. So those 40 yards on penalties were ultimately a killer. And I know Coach Keeler and Keegan Shoemaker had some words for the offensive line after that drive. And yeah, it wasn't pretty. But yeah, I think that's ultimately where it happened, and kind of where things hinged was just the undisciplinedness. And it comes back to haunt you, and it did on Thursday, that's for sure.
And that, those are self-inflicted wounds that this team cannot afford.
Right.
You can't this team is not going to be light years ahead of anyone else athletically, right? Like they're not playing anyone on the field that they're going to dominate with their athleticism. That's not happening. They're no longer playing some of the lower FCS talent teams. You could get by with that against some of those. You're not getting by with that here in FBS right now. You've not built it up to that point.
Yeah, and even with that point, I feel like just all 4 games so far, it feels like one group is really clicking, and then another group is just really they're not doing well or they make a stupid penalty. It just feels like we can't put together a complete game, whether that be from an offensive and defensive perspective or playing well on offense and committing penalties or defense is playing well and the offense isn't. It feels like you can't put a complete game together. And for us to be able to win games at this level, it's got to be a complete effort in all 3 phases and you got to be disciplined. So we just haven't seen that yet. And I think if we can get there, there's some winnable games, but you got to show you can do it.
Well, and then ESPN gave a nice little, how you doing to the Cats fans when they opened the show by reporting that Ife Adeye is out for the season, which I believe you had already heard. But that just adds to, you've got a couple wide receivers dismissed off the team. You've got a couple wide receivers. One Ife, now a big piece, is out for the season. Quavez hasn't been able to play yet with injury. Now all of a sudden this wide receiver core is looking very frail and fragile, and that is not what the Cats need right now heading into face Liberty.
Yeah, and man, I just feel terrible for Ife. I mean, just getting to know him a little bit, he's a great guy. He was one of the guys that redshirted last year. And you hate it for him. Absolutely hate it. I found out a couple hours before game time that he was out for the year with the meniscus injury, and so we wish him the absolute best. But yeah, guys are gonna have to step up. I think Noah Smith had by far his best game of the year. He looked really good. I think Malik Phillips showed some good things, and the tight ends both played pretty well also, I think. And then you had John Gentry, man, and I'm sure we'll talk about him a little bit, but touching the ball nearly 40 times with 8 receptions. And yeah, so some other guys stepped up, and it's going to have to be that way at pretty much every single game until you get Quavez back in maybe a month, hopefully. And yeah, guys are just going to continue to have to step up.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned the running game, and it leads us into another part of this. Yes, a lack of discipline, a big reason. It's not the only reason. The offense opened up early, Ben, and they were really moving the ball. They looked very good in the first half. They put up yards, they put up points. And then it felt like in the third quarter, when they came out of the locker room, they came out with a philosophy change. They stopped attacking. They just felt like they could run the ball and rely on their defense. And boy, is that not a good idea for this team.
Right. Yeah. I think when you can get the run game going, that's great, but I don't think it's something you can depend on for all 60 minutes. And we kind of saw that in the third quarter, kind of felt like we leaned on it a little too much. And especially with John Gentry, I mean, touched the ball 40 times. He's going to wear down a little bit. You're not going to get that same kind of production. And so I think it's okay to lean on the run a little, but I think you've got to rely on the passing game. And Keegan looks, I mean, outside of one really bad interception, which was bad, I think Keegan looked great on Thursday night. And I think you should have put the ball in his hands a little bit more. And especially in that third quarter, it just looks like we really took our foot off the gas. And that's when Jacksonville State started coming back. So it's okay to mix in that run, but I think you got to continue to put the ball in Keegan's hands because I think he showed that he can do it. And he was doing well in the first half, distributing the ball.
He was. And I thought Keegan as well played a very good game, probably his best one that he has had this year. And I feel like there was some coaching problems with it. First off, the idea to come out and try to sit on it is not a good idea. You need to be aggressive for at least 3 quarters unless you're up by enough that you can hold it. They did not have a lead comfortable enough to sit on a ball, right? To sit on. That was number one. Number two, what got them there, what was aggressive early on was a lot of misdirection, a lot of keeping the defense off balance, right? Remember what we talked about a couple weeks ago, short passing game. You saw a lot of that. little misdirection, dump it here, dump it there. Then you're able to hit them for a run up the middle. Then all of a sudden, look, you got the tight end leaking out down the seam because you're controlling what the linebackers are doing. I felt like when they came out in the second half, they just threw that whole formula that was working out the window until it became too late to get it to work again.
Right, yeah, definitely took the foot off the gas, and it was almost a timid approach. I loved what we did in the first half. I mean, there was so much misdirection and movement going on, a lot of guys getting involved, and then it just kind of felt like it got vanilla there in the third, and then it's hard to kind of put your foot back on the gas once it's tied up. I mean, we even saw that when the defense forced that fumble towards in the Sam Houston red zone, and the offense got the ball. I think it took them 10 plays to move the ball 20, 25 yards. So once you take your foot off the gas, it's hard to get back in that rhythm. And so I think it's just something you got to sustain the whole time, keep that motion going, keep getting guys involved, mix in the run here and there. But yeah, put the ball in Keegan's hands or whoever the QB's hands is, because I mean, he was doing really well outside of that one throw on Thursday.
You hit on it, man. It's a mentality, right? Like your offense is sitting here and you're saying, we're going, this is what we're going to do. And that whole first half, you kept gut punching them the whole way through. Then you go in at halftime and you tell them, guys, we're going to come out in this second half and we're going to stop being aggressive. We're going to stop gut punching. It's just a bad message to send to the offense, because I don't think you're able to sell, we're going to run them down and run block the heck out of them. I think that the team looks at you and goes, that's not really what we're able to do right now. That's not us.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's not who they are. Even though they put up some good rushing yards, that's not who we are. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to kind of see what it looks like moving forward. Hopefully, we can kind of harness that first half and move forward with it. And even in the second half, when we saw things start to open up and look good, anything that did look good was brought back by a penalty. I think there were 3 or 4 offensive penalties, and that's a killer. So it's not what you can do. So, I mean, you got to put a complete game together at the end of the day.
Yes, and they did not do that. They put a good half together. And to your point earlier, Keegan Shoemaker did have his best game of the season by far. In the passing game, he rated a 67.1, which was far and away his best performance this season.
I think it was. I was going to say, I think it was the best performance of his career at Sam Houston. I mean, the one interception was really bad, but if you take that out, I mean, he was nails pretty much the entire night.
Yeah, he was good. He operated that well. I at times I felt like the alternating of quarterbacks was not working as well. I don't know why you alternate quarterbacks. You know, down at the goal line, I get it. Trapper Pennell can come in and he can do it, right? Like he can run. He's good down there in the Wildcat. I just felt like it took a little bit of the rhythm out at times to bring him in. He wasn't necessarily successful, and I don't understand why Keegan could not operate some of those same plays.
Yeah, and I think it's gotten to the point now where people know who Trapper is. I think we need to have some plays with him in there to where he's not the guy getting the ball, or maybe he's actually throwing the ball, or maybe he's catching it. He's played some tight end in camp, so I think he needs to be used a little more as a decoy, because when he comes in now, people know who he is, which is fine. He's great at what he does, but maybe let's have him in there and throw a pass, or maybe let's have him in there and he's just a decoy. He doesn't even touch the ball, but he gets all the attention. And so it'll be interesting to kind of see what they use, or how they use that Wildcat package moving forward, because I think teams have started to catch on to it, because he's got 3 touchdowns. Now you got to account for him.
Well, it was pretty obvious when he came into the game. Jacksonville State knew what was coming.
Right.
And so at that point, it comes down to executing. But it would not hurt to, like you said, play action pass, maybe. I mean, if he's a quarterback, you brought him in to be a quarterback, you're going to have to trust him to at least hit a wide open receiver with a play action pass.
Right, and he's a competent thrower. I mean, we've seen him do it. He played that entire Southern Utah game last year, made some completions. He played quarterback in high school, so he can definitely do it. He can do a bunch of different things, and I think it'd be a really good thing to kind of take advantage of all the skills that he has, instead of just kind of having him dive there up the middle or kind of run it on the outside edge.
I agree. And so, Ben, that brings us to our injury updates. Where do the Cats stand health-wise as they get ready to take a tough trip
Right. Yeah. I think we came out of this game looking pretty good. We saw Mark-Kendrick Bial come off for a series or two, but he was back in there. We saw Javon Leon come out for a little bit, but he was back in there, which is good. So I think you're looking pretty much about where you were coming into this game, obviously, as far as we can tell. One injury that kind of did fly under the radar that he's not a huge name, but I think he kind of made a big impact is Davion Armstead did not play against Jacksonville State. He had a pretty noticeable limp walking around in the pregame. He's a guy that had 3 pass breakups at BYU and has been really good in coverage. And so it'll be interesting to see what his status is for Liberty. We know about the Ife Days and Quavis Humphreys and Zach Robacheks, but yeah, Davion Armstead's a guy that kind of flew under the radar. And if he's healthy, I think it's going to be a big boost for the defense.
Well, let's hope he is healthy. Let's hope it is a big boost for the defense because they're gonna need it. But what they also need, Ben, is we got to remember sometimes that we're dealing with young men that are also students. And, as in this world now where we're actually allowing them to make some money off their name, image, and likeness, you operate that cat fund, my man. And that's a very big thing. So take a moment here and tell our listeners what they get and that, kind of give us a rundown of the cat fund.
Right. Yeah, it's a great way to support Sam Houston athletes and kind of reward them for what they've done on and off the field and support them financially. So yeah, great way to get involved and support the players, but also a great way for you to get involved and get exclusive access to content on Cat Fans, also some merchandise like shirts and hats. And Cory, if you give me just 1 second, if we go to YouTube or if you're on YouTube, let me grab this real quick.
Whoa, off the cuff, guys, Ben.
Let me try to get this on here. I don't know if it's going to go on here or not. There we go. Yeah, so we've got 5 of these that we're shipping out to some of our members.
What are those?
These are signed footballs. We've got 9 or 10 signatures on these from different guys on the team. So yeah, this is one of the things.
Hold on, put that back up there, man. Put that back up there. Okay.
Let's see. There we go.
There we go. I'm looking at the way I'm looking at it is on the far left side. It says meatball, all capital letters. Yes, sir. Yes. Who else is on that, man?
Yeah, Kavian Gaither's on here. Isaiah Downs is on here. Sincere Jackson, Diari Patton, Chris Scott. He's had a great season. He's on here. Jack Sherrard's on here. So yeah, we've got some of these footballs. Picked them up a couple days ago. Shipped one out today or a couple days ago. We're going to ship some more out here in the next week. But yeah, and we're going to have some more signed ones going to our members at certain tiers here in the next couple of weeks. So that's one of the things you can get access to.
So how do they become members then?
Yeah, cat-fund.com. Great way to get involved. That's our website. You can sign up there, see all the information, see the membership benefits. And yeah, that's where you can go. We've also got our golf tournament coming up here in a couple weeks, October 20th. So that's cat-fund.com/golf if you're interested in signing up and more information. We've also got that on the Cat Fund social media pages. So yeah, a lot of good stuff happening.
Oh, that is tremendous. And you know what else is tremendous? Eternal roofing, man. Especially on days like today where it's stormy and raining. And, I honestly, I live in an apartment complex, but if I lived in a home that had 2 leaks in my roof like I live in now, I would call Eternal Roofing, Ben.
Yeah, it's the only place to call. And maybe you're like me. We need to get on our apartment complexes to maybe contract them out and do some work. I know we talked about that last week. I need to do better. I got to get on them, but maybe we can both do it.
Yeah, because look, they can install, they repair roofs. It's not just roofing though, Ben. That's the great thing about it, especially when you're talking apartment complexes, because they can do other things that you're going to need, general contracting work inside the apartment. They could paint the interior, exterior of your home or your business. They can install gutters, garage doors, floors, woodworking, any crown molding. If you know crown molding, that is very specialized stuff. They can do that for you. Shelf, repair sheetrock if you've got, a young one who likes to run themselves through it. We've been over that before. And Ben, the calendar turned to October. That doesn't mean Halloween lights are coming, although I have to ask Taylor if they do that. But it does mean we're just a couple months away. People are starting to have to plan for the jolly old fella coming to town.
Yeah, old Saint Nick, only a couple months away, as crazy as it is. But yeah, they also do Christmas lights, which is really fun. So if you're looking for everything Cory mentioned or Christmas lights, they've got you, and they can help. That's for sure.
They sure can. You can reach Taylor. You can email him directly, Taylor, Taylor, at eternalroofingtx.com. You can call one of the two numbers, the one in Montgomery area, 936-215-8539, and in the Hill Country, 830-251-5673. Give Eternal Roofing a call for all of your roofing and general contracting needs. Ben, we turn our attention now to this week. And we are facing a very good Liberty Flames team. Tell us what you know about it.
Right, yeah. So I mean, we're coming in 0-4, and they're coming in 4-0, and they've got 2 conference wins already. So they've taken care of business. Kind of similar to Jacksonville State. Hasn't been the highest quality opponent, but man, they've really put a pretty quality beat down on each and every opponent, beating Bowling Green, New Mexico State, Buffalo, and FIU so far. Under new head coach Jamie Chadwell, first year, I think about half of their roster is completely new, so not a lot of people really knew what to expect with them, but I think they've really looked good and exceeded expectations. And then obviously their big name that you have to watch out for is Caden Salter, their quarterback. Man, he's just really done it all. He can really hurt you through the air. He can hurt you with his legs, and he's been dynamic. He's been a conference player of the week once or twice already. And so, yeah, they're a good team. This is what, I mean, we've played some difficult games this year. This is definitely up there. So it doesn't get any easier this week. That's for sure.
This is going to be a real test of the defense, because this is a team that you mentioned the passing game, the quarterback, how good he is. They have a passing grade of 86.4 on pff.com. That's really good for a passing grade. This defense, I think this might be the best offense to attack this defense. What this defense does well, I think this might be the best offense that they've faced so far, maybe outside of Houston.
Right. I was going to say Houston, definitely wasn't a good scheme fit, but Liberty's up there too. Liberty can really do it all, and teams that can really throw the ball and run the ball competently, that's when it gets a little tough for our defense. I think if you can make a team one-dimensional, or if a team is one-dimensional, that's where our defense can really shine and thrive. But man, it's going to be a big test, and really mobile quarterback, and that's what the big test is. And we really haven't faced a mobile quarterback. I mean, Logan Smothers this last week, he's mobile at Jacksonville State, but he really didn't run the ball a ton. So yeah, I think that's going to be really difficult. An offense that can do it really well, both running the ball and throwing the ball, and that's what's going to make it really tough.
All right, so this week I am throwing something at us a little bit different, completely off the cuff. It just came into my head.
All right.
I know you're ready for these things every time. We're going to go, I'm going to give the position group like what we're doing, and then we're going to talk about who has the advantage.
Okay.
And we're going to start with our pass blocking versus pass rush. All right. And we're going to go a Liberty offense right now versus Sam Houston defense.
Yeah.
So tell me what you got.
I'm probably going to have to give the edge to the Liberty offensive line. I think the Sam Houston defense, when it comes to pass blocking, we haven't really gotten a ton of pressure on the quarterback. If it were to come to run blocking, I think it might be a different story. But yeah, when it comes to pass blocking, this Liberty offensive line is big. They're experienced, and they've done really well this year, giving Caden Salter some opportunities to throw the ball and do some good things. So yeah, when it comes to pass block against the defensive line, I'd probably give the edge to Liberty.
When you mentioned big, that tells me they're probably pretty good at running the ball.
Yeah, well, the quarterback is a big part of that too.
Well, let me explain something to you. PFF.com has them rated pretty low in pass blocking.
Really? Okay.
These big guys, they don't. In fact, Sam Houston has the edge in pass rush. Sam Houston's pass rush is graded a 60, and Liberty's pass blocking grade is a 49.4. And so that gives, in my opinion, that gives Sam Houston the edge when it comes to pass rushing. But look, 60 compared to 49.4 isn't going to get there very well. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, and it's a road environment, so it's going to make it even more difficult. That's for sure. So yeah, it's a tough matchup. It's not going to be easy. So I mean, and that's what I think ultimately where there's going to have to, if Sam Houston is going to have success, it's going to be on the defensive line, and if they can get home, because ultimately that's where our strength is, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can get home to Caden Salter.
That brings us to the next one. Their receivers versus the secondary of Sam Houston State.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about their receiving group. I think it's very new. It's a pretty new group over there with Jamie Chadwell, but I think the not deficiency, but the weakness of Sam Houston's defense is the secondary, and we've seen them throw the ball really well, Liberty. So I'd probably have to give it to Liberty as well when it comes to their receivers versus our DBs.
All right. Well, this one, again, a little bit of a surprise. Liberty's receivers are graded 78.5 and Sam Houston's secondary graded 78.2. And so I'm going to call that dead even.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's dead even. And that's going to be, so quarterback plays. We're just talking receivers versus secondary, dead even. I like that. That right now, Sam Houston seems to have an edge. How about run blocking versus run defense?
Yeah, I think this is where we're going to have an edge, and this is where we're typically going to have our edge. And so, not sure what the PFF grades look like, but I think this is the group where I think no matter who we match up with in Conference USA, we should be able to hold our own on the run defensive side.
And you're right. They're graded at 63.3. Sam Houston is 76.3. That's a significant edge in run blocking. But I do want to point out that running game, you can tell how good the quarterback is and how big a role he plays in the running game when the running grade is almost 20 points higher than the run block grade. They don't need the run blocking sometimes. This quarterback is that good, and their running grade is 80.3. That means, to me, Ben, that tells me the key to watch when you're watching this game, watch for the discipline of the defensive line. They need to stop the run, but are they also setting the edge and keeping everything from Liberty in the middle of the field? Because that's how dual threat quarterbacks beat you, is when they're able to get outside your defensive ends.
Right. Yeah. And the Sam Houston defense, all the success comes from stopping the run. That's where it all starts and begins. But here you got to take into account stopping the run with the quarterback. And so it's just another dynamic to go with it. And so I think that's ultimately where it hinges, and maybe even look for some sort of QB spy. I mean, we've got some athletic linebackers that can really cover some space, like Kavian Gaither and Sincere Jackson. And so I'd be interested to see if they kind of put a QB spy on them this week also.
Yeah, and to tell you how good this quarterback is in the running game, they're 17 points better than their run blocking. In the passing grade is 37 points better than their pass blocking grade. That's just strictly how good the quarterback is. That's going to be a battle. That's going to be fun to watch. I think that's pretty close. I think that, that's going to be a pretty series by series, one team. That's going to be pretty fun to watch. Now on the other side of the ball is where I think we might start to see some issues. Sam Houston's offense against Liberty's defense. Ben, we're going to start pass blocking versus pass rush. Where do you give the edge on that?
Man, honestly, I really liked our pass block against BYU, and I really liked our pass block against Jacksonville State. So I think this might be the one area where we can I'm going to give it to Sam. I think it might be a push, but I might give it to Sam Houston just based on the fact that we've seen them perform well against two pretty good opponents.
And they did. They performed very well pass blocking against Houston. They graded 69.8 against Houston, BYU 45, and Jacksonville State 53. Tells me they're about average, right? That's about an average pass block.
Right. Yeah. And the pass block being average is much better than the run block being not average. We'll put it that way.
Well, it is, but I got to tell you right now, by grades, they're pretty much even.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think it's probably going to be a push, because this Liberty defense, I mean, they've given up some points. It's not crazy points, but they've given up 24, 17, and 27 in their first 3 weeks. Obviously, they kind of shut out FIU. They only gave up 6, but first 3 weeks, teams are putting up 20 to 30 points on them. So it's a defense that can give up points and will give up points if you can play effectively.
Well, I will tell you their pass rush is graded 79.4 versus the pass block graded 43.3. That gives me a distinct edge towards Liberty.
Likely, yeah, but also I'd like to see where that Liberty defensive line grades out compared to a BYU or an Air Force or a Jacksonville State. So I think it's going to be an equivalent kind of thing. And if they could perform the way they did against Jacksonville State, I think that was enough to put up points. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can give Keegan Shoemaker time, I think he's shown that he can do some good things. Is he going to set the world on fire? Probably not, but he's going to be able to keep you in games if you can keep him upright.
And I love how you point out the difference in the level of competition, because that has played a role in the grades being so low. I don't know. I think 10 to 15 points. How about if you added 10 to 15 points to what Sam Houston has done on offense, I think that could equate for what the level of competition they've played.
Right.
But I still think at that, you still give the edge to Liberty in the pass rush category. Now, receivers versus secondary.
Yeah. If you gave me our full array of weapons, I think it'd be an easy Sam Houston, but honestly, it's going to be tough for Sam Houston to be the better team when it comes to wide receivers versus DBs. When you have this group, even in Conference USA. So, yeah, with Noah Smith kind of leading the charge, and him being really your only established guy, I think it's definitely going to be an advantage to Liberty, in my opinion, at least.
Adding in the 15 points, because I think that's actually a pretty good number to say that of the difference in competition.
Right.
Their receiving group is a 71.7.
Okay.
And that's not bad. That's average, starting to get above it. The problem is the Flames secondary is the best part of that defense, man. They've graded out at a 90.1.
Yeah, and they're a turnover machine from what I remember. They've really forced a lot of turnovers, especially in the secondary. So it's going to be a tough matchup, and got to hang on to the ball when you're throwing it. That's for sure. Because I mean, you got to capitalize on every possession you have.
So that means you're going to have to be able to run block this week and have some success in the running game. Where do you see the advantage there?
Yeah, run blocking, it's going to have to be Liberty. I mean, this is an established FBS team, and even against Jacksonville State, while there were flashes of it, I don't think we were necessarily dominant when it came to run blocking. So I think you have to give the advantage to Liberty there. I think if this team can keep progressing, I think we might be close, but I think you just have to give the edge to Liberty at this point.
You add in that 15, they go up to a 57.3. The run defense, though, for Liberty is really good. They're graded at a 68.2. Yeah. By the way, I will say this. I think Sam Houston has a better run defense. I think Liberty is going to be able to run the ball a little better than Sam Houston will this week.
Right. Yeah. And their offense is explosive. I think our one strength that we do have, that we know we have, is our front seven on defense. Outside of that, we're going to have the guys play up above their ability and just kind of play equal or to what Liberty can do. And if we can do that, I think we'll stay in it. It's going to be really tough. Going on the road in a pretty hostile environment against a really good team. But yeah, I think we have that advantage on the front seven. It's stopping the run, but outside of that, it's going to be really tough.
Wow, I think that was a really good little segment we had.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I need to do some more homework on Liberty, because I knew the team as a whole, but when you're looking at each unit, it gets a little more interesting. So I'll definitely have to do some more homework on New Mexico State for next week.
Oh, because it's coming, man. I like that one. I think our listeners will like it too. And by the way, if you are listening, let us know. If you're watching, let us know if you like that. Want more of that, because I think that's kind of some of the stuff you look for, especially when you get in the nerdy part of football. So that brings us to, we do all that, Ben, so that we can give our predictions. And ESPN Vegas, according to what I saw there, 19.5-point favorites are Liberty. The over-under is set at 46. So Vegas is saying a 32 or 33-14 in favor of Liberty. What does Ben Sorrells have to say?
Right, yeah, I'm gonna stick to my word. I actually did a little preview of Sam Houston for the guys over at A Sea of Red, which is a group that covers Liberty, and I predicted 34-20. So I think you said the spread was about 33-19 kind of thing. So I'm right on it with where they are for Liberty. I'm gonna give us a couple more points. I think we go over, and I'm gonna say 34-20 Liberty is what I'm thinking.
I like that. But you also have it at the under too.
I thought you said the over under was 46.
30, you said what scored it? You said 34-20. Oh,
Yeah,
so you went to over. I
right.
do like that. Yes. I
Yeah.
do like the fact because my math is not good all the time.
Hey, man, that's
I
all right.
yeah. And here I was earlier adding 15 with no problem to these grades, right?
You capped out with the amount of math for the day.
I did, man. My brain shut down at that point. I do agree with the over. And I think that's because Vegas is not caught up to the fact that Sam Houston's offense is not as bad as it seemed when they were facing really good Power 5 defenses. I just don't know that Sam Houston will score enough. I don't think that I don't know that they're going to be able to stop Liberty. I think this is the type of offense that gives Sam Houston defense trouble. I think this is a bad matchup. Um, I'm gonna go 38-21.
Yeah,
You know,
we're right about the same. We're pretty close.
but it's so high. I just think 19 and a half is a little bit too much.
That's the biggest spread we've had all year, and that's including going to BYU and Houston. So I like that number.
And they've had a full week to prepare for Liberty, with having played on a Thursday. It's on CBS Sports. Yeah, I was a little surprised to see a number so high, but I think 15, 16, anywhere from that 14 to 16 range is very likely in this game.
Right. Yeah, and that's where I've got it too. I've got it at 14. And I think it's a game where we're really going to hang around for 2.5 to 3 quarters, and then you're going to kind of see Liberty maybe pull away from there. I think it might be a 27-20 game going to the fourth, and they score another touchdown, and then it's kind of over from there. Or maybe it's 23-17 going to the fourth, and Liberty scores another 10 points kind of thing. So I think it's definitely a game that we're going to be able to hang tough in for 2.5, 3 quarters. But at the end of the day, Liberty's a really good team, and I think they're going to play all 4 quarters, and they've got the depth, and that we've talked about that a lot. And I think that's where the depth really comes into play.
I think you better hope that they do, because if the discipline issues arise again early on in this game for Sam Houston, this game is one that could get out of hand in a hurry. This is one of those that's a scary team in that I'm not going to put any money on it being on the under because Liberty has that firepower and capability both on offense and defense to turn this game into a rout.
Yeah, and I think that would be a nightmare scenario for Sam Houston. I think if you keep it close pretty much the whole game with maybe the best team in the conference right now on the road, I think while it's not a win, it's going to show, hey, we can still compete in this conference. We showed it against Jacksonville State. We showed it against Liberty. If it turns into a rout, I really kind of start to worry about the locker room and what it looks like. And because if you're 0-5 and you get blown out on the road and you got to go on the road again the next week, things can start to snowball. But I think if you can go out there and play well and keep it really close, who knows? Maybe we even win. I mean, we're not predicting it, but a good showing, I think, could go a long way for the back half of the schedule.
Like nothing helps team chemistry more than winning.
Right.
Nothing hurts team chemistry more than losing. Frustrations will start to show. I think we saw a little bit of that against Jacksonville State. I think some of the discipline issues are frustration issues right now, being 0-4 entering that game. So now, how frustrated are you at 0-5? Did you feel any bad? You're gonna have to look internally. This team is, and they're gonna have to figure out a way to internally keep that from happening. I think that's something to watch this week.
It is, because if you can keep the momentum, I mean, not that there's a ton of momentum, but to keep the guys engaged and keep fighting. I mean, UTEP, FIU, Kennesaw, New Mexico State are very different opponents, even than Jacksonville State and Liberty. So, I mean, those are four very winnable games right there. So if you can stay together and keep this thing going and keep getting better, there's definitely some winnable games on the horizon. But you gotta stay together. You gotta keep pushing. You can't get into a fractured locker room kind of thing.
I agree. I agree. And I think that same with you. I start to be concerned that we might be headed into that area if things turn south, badly south
Right.
this week or at any point in time here. You know, who doesn't turn south, who always puts up their best work and quality, and that's Eternal Roofing, Ben. They are also specialists in commercial roofing. That is very important. Eternal Roofing can accommodate your HVAC system, any equipment you have on the roof, while ensuring minimal disruption to your operations during the installation or repair. If you're a business and you need roofing work, Eternal Roofing is the place to call. And I want to tell people again, head over to Eternal Roofing, eternalroofingtx.com, and go check out their gallery. They have a gallery of some of their past projects, and it really is impressive work, Ben.
It is, yeah, and they've got a bunch of different stuff on there from what I remember seeing. It's not just the roofing, but everything else you described in that middle segment. So yeah, definitely check it out. Check out those pictures and the work they've done, because it is really quality work. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about quality, and that's what they do.
And that is tailored quality is how you talk about Taylor. You want quality individual, quality work. That is Taylor Andrus in the Eternal Roofing group right there. You can get a hold of Taylor, email him at taylor@eternalroofingtx.com, or you can get a hold of him by phone. Montgomery area office 936-215-8539, and in the Hill Country 830-251-5673. But do not worry yourself. They will service the entire state of Texas. Taylor has told us that. So make sure you follow them. Give them a call if you need anything. They are awesome to work with. And Ben, it's time to get away from football. We've been very, very football focused. But the Bearcats, man, the basketball, they started practice.
They did, yep. They're a little over a week out from the beginning of practice, and almost exactly a week away from their first game of the season at Pacific. So, yeah, it's a really exciting time for basketball. Things are really starting to kick into gear.
So we talked, we teased it in the opening that they had a big commit this week. Give us some information on that.
Yeah, Eric Taylor, he actually visited a few weeks ago from what I remember. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. And yeah, 6'1", 6'2" guard out of Florida that picked up an offer from Sam Houston this summer on July 20th. I forget who the lead recruiter was on it. My mind's blanking, but yeah, picked up an offer on July 20th. And man, this is one of the most high profile recruits that I think our basketball program, or really any program on campus, has ever landed. His final five consisted of Wichita State, Utah State, SMU, Drake, and Sam Houston. Also held offers from schools like Temple, Georgia Southern, Appalachian State, Florida Gulf Coast, and man, this is a really high pickup for the 2024 class for Coach Mudge. And man, I like what he did in the portal for this year's team. And then looking ahead to next year, this is a really, really nice piece that could come in and make an immediate impact.
That's awesome. Coach Mudge is doing great things with the basketball team. What, do we have any other recruiting updates from the basketball programs?
Yeah, one of the big ones I'll share is Malik Abduali. I believe I'm saying his last name correctly. He visited a few weeks ago. He's also a guy from out of state. I think he's a 6'8", 6'9" forward, really athletic. He's got a really, really nice offer list, and he's down to 4 or 5 schools. And let me find those 4 or 5 schools here. So, yeah, he's down to Sam Houston, FAU, who made the Final Four last year, UMass, Iona, and Princeton. So yeah, a guy that really nice top 5, really good player, 3-star player, visited a couple weeks ago. So another name to watch out for that's on the radar for Sam Houston.
For a basketball junkie like myself, I love hearing those names because those are sneaky good March schools.
Yeah,
Iona, Princeton. I mean,
FAU.
FAU, and the fact that you've got Sam Houston getting into the conversation with these, man, that the future is bright for Chris Mudge in the program.
It is, yeah, and recruiting is taking a step up everywhere on campus from the move from the WAC or to the WAC and then up to Conference USA. And man, this move to Conference USA has really bumped up the recruiting, the high school recruiting at least, for basketball. I mean, these are guys that you never would have expected, would have even thought about Sam Houston in the past. But this is a team that, I mean, when those rankings come out, the top 25 or top 50 teams in wins or conference record, Sam Houston's in there every year. So for the past 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I mean, it's a team with a lot of success. Obviously, get back to the tournament is the big goal, and that's what we want to do. But it's a team that's won a lot, and I think that's really appealing to guys.
Was that your puppy that just made an
That
appearance?
that was the cat. Yeah,
The cat.
I was avoiding them the whole time. Yeah.
That cat, if you're not watching on YouTube, that was great. That cat said, "Hey, I'm right here," and just went right across the street.
Yeah, he's a big boy. I think he's all of 13 pounds. He's a big one.
Ooh, boy, yeah, he wanted to be seen. He got his camera time.
Yeah, he made sure to get it in. He's big enough. He'll find his way on there. But yeah, recruiting is really taking a step up, and I think they're looking to take probably one, maybe two more high school guys for the 2024 class. But man, you're off to a really, really good start in Eric Taylor out of Florida.
Let's take a look at some of the scheduling news we have. We got more things about the schedule, including a pretty nice event they're going to be taking a part in.
Right, yeah, really high profile event up at North Texas. The kind of exhibition and charity game has really exploded in the college basketball world here recently. And Sam Houston's a part of a really nice event. So they're going to go to North Texas and play North Texas Sunday, October 29th at 2:00. And then followed by after that is going to be A&M versus Texas Tech. All money from that event is going to support people in Hawaii that were devastated by the wildfires out there. So the Compete for Cause Classic, it's going to be really good. Obviously, North Texas is the team that beat Sam Houston in the round of 16 in the NIT last year. So, and both are coming in with a new head coach, Jason Hooten going to New Mexico State, and Grant McClaslin going over to Texas Tech from North Texas. So two teams in the middle of a transition, but coming off really good years from last year.
I'm really happy to see Grant McCaslin, who is a superior person. He is a great person. I've been around, followed him at least since his days when he got to Midwestern State, and that was quite a while now. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it really was. But it doesn't surprise me, but it also tells you about him that he went to Texas Tech. He liked UNT. He cares for UNT, and to set this up at North Texas, I imagine he was a big part of setting these games up, getting this going, and then for the money to go out to the people devastated by the fires in Hawaii. And if for people who may not be aware of Lahaina, that was the main area that was devastated, that is where the Maui Invitational, which is my favorite basketball tournament. Every year, I watch as much of that as I possibly can. I love the Maui Invitational. That is the area that was suffered all those burns, and there is a D2 school that hosts the Maui Invitational. There's a lot of ties to this. I'm really glad to see Grant and these other teams, all four teams in universities, come together, put on this at North Texas, fill up whatever they call their place. I don't know.
The Super Pit, I think, is what it's called.
Super Pit. That's right. Denton Super Pit. Yeah. Fill up the Super Pit, because it's not only going to be good basketball, it's for a great cause.
Yeah, all around. I mean, it's a really great thing. I mean, teams get better. You get to see your team go play. It goes to a great cause. So, I mean, from start to finish, it's a really great event. And I think it's only going to benefit the people of Hawaii. It's going to make these teams better. It's just a win-win-win for everybody. That's for sure.
It really is. Do we have any other scheduling news there, Ben?
Yeah, Sam Houston hasn't officially listed their non-conference schedule yet, but it's all but complete. Some of the highlights of it, I'll just run over. You could get all this on D1 Docket, great Twitter account to follow at D1 Docket. It's got every single game that's been announced on there. So yeah, just some of the highlights of it. Team opens up at Pacific in California on November 6th. So we're just about a month away. A couple days later, you host Utah Valley. So that's a matchup of the two top teams from the WAC last year. That'll be a really fun matchup at home. That's a great home game. You've got some games at Oklahoma State, at Ole Miss, at Arizona State. And then you get some really good home games. You get to see old Southland Flow Lamar. So a good little regional game there. Texas State comes and plays at Johnson Coliseum. That's a fun rivalry. UL Monroe comes in, another regional game. So a really fun non-conference schedule. You got some Power 5 teams on there. You go to Grand Canyon. That's another one. To Texas Tech. So some really big names, some really fun home games. For the first time in a while, you get some quality home games, Division I home games in the non-conference. You're not just playing Southwest Bible College of Alaska kind of thing. You're playing Texas State and Utah Valley, schools like that. So it's going to be a fun year. Schedule looks great. I really like this team.
All right, I gotta ask, man, how in the world is the Bible College in Alaska named Southwest?
That's what it feels like you're scheduling sometimes.
No, I
When
know
you're
what you
playing
mean.
these teams.
I know what you mean. I thought Southwest, and then I thought Alaska, and that just made me chuckle.
Southwest region of Alaska. Come on, Cory. It's a big state.
It is. I don't think people realize how big a state Alaska is. I have a cousin that actually lives up there, and he told me one time that their closest district game for football was like a 2-hour flight.
Oh my gosh. So there's one district in the whole state kind of thing.
Well, there ain't many. There are not many, but yeah, they'll fly up to like 6-7 hours for a game, man. It's crazy what they do.
Yeah, but
It's a big state.
Yeah, none of them on the schedule, thankfully. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We're just about a month out, and excited to see Chris Mudge's and Coach Mudge's first year at the helm and what he can do with this team.
Really excited for it, and also really glad to see they're playing Utah Valley and Grand Canyon. Those teams from the WAC that they were part of, those are teams those will be good wins on your resume. Those will not be bad wins.
Right.
And I think and also going to Arizona State, let me go ahead and say now, I hope you beat the hell out of Bobby Hurley. Okay. He gets on my nerves sometimes. He's a little fiery. I like it sometimes. I kind of like the Sun Devils secretly. They're secretly one of my favorite teams, but I really want to beat the hell out of Bobby Hurley and watch him go off.
I would love it'd be a huge win. And you brought up Grand Canyon and Utah Valley. That's a part of the Conference USA WAC scheduling alliance. So you get a home game and an away game against a WAC team, and it looks like it's going to be that way going forward. So a really great way to kind of bolster your non-conference schedule.
That is awesome. Ben, thank you so much, man. This one, I think this was actually a pretty decent episode. We didn't screw it up too bad.
Yeah, not this one, maybe the other one.
Hey, if you're listening for us to screw up, come back next week. We got more for you.
We'll be here again next week, ready to talk about whatever happened.
That's right. And if you are listening or watching on YouTube, we want to say thank you. Without you, we're not doing this, and this would not be possible for us at all. And until we see you again next week. Ben, take us out.
Eat 'em up, Cats, and let's go figure this thing out on the road and try to get a win.
God, we need a win.
Yep.